Today, we're going to talk about something really powerful and honestly, a little startling. It's this idea about the hidden roots of our modern struggles. We're going to unpack why trying your absolute hardest to be a good person might actually be leading you into the very same trap you think you're escaping. Okay, so this brings us to the central puzzle for this whole explainer. How is it possible that trying to be an incredibly moral, rule-following person could end in the exact same kind of spiritual slavery as living a life where you break all the rules? I mean, it seems like a total contradiction, right? Well, let's see if we can solve it. And you know what's wild is that this is not some new age self-help idea. This question actually comes from an ancient letter where the author is just completely stunned. He can't believe that the people he's writing to are thinking about becoming super moral and religious, and he calls it a return to slavery. So that really raises the stakes and shows us we're dealing with a deep, fundamental human paradox. All right, so to really get this, we've got to look at the context. Let's dig into this really startling contradiction. The people being spoken to in this text were, well, they were recent converts from Greco-Roman paganism, and their former lifestyle was, let's just say, pretty lenient. But now, new teachers were showing up and telling them, hey, just having faith isn't enough. You need to follow every single rule, observe every holiday, and become rigorously moral to really be accepted. And this is where the claim gets so shocking. The author, Paul, says that if they do this, if they go from being hedonist to being hyper-moral, they are not moving towards freedom. He says they are going right back to the exact same slavery they were in before. How can two totally opposite lifestyles lead to the same prison? To figure that out, we need to understand the terms he's using. The source says they were slaves to non-gods. What does that even mean in a modern context? Let's unpack that, because understanding this term is the key to the whole puzzle. So, an idol isn't just a statue. The source gives us a brilliant, much more modern definition. An idol is anything in our life that we elevate to an ultimate thing. It's any good thing that becomes the one thing we feel we absolutely must have to be happy, to have value, or to feel whole. And here's the crucial part. Idols are usually not bad things. They are good things. Things like career success, or getting approval from a partner, or making sure our family is safe, or even just being a moral person. They only become idols and tools of enslavement when they become the central, non-negotiable thing in our life that gives us our identity. Okay, so how exactly does a good thing, like your career or your family, become a chain? Let's look at the psychological mechanics of how this enslavement actually works. It's really a three-step process. First, we take a good thing and we make it the ultimate source of our identity. Second, this creates what the source calls an over-desire, a normal desire that gets blown up into an absolute enslaving need. And finally, this over-desire forges emotional and psychological chains like bitterness, anxiety, or guilt. Let's take a powerful example: bitterness. When we find ourselves just unable to forgive someone, the source argues the root problem isn't just what they did to us. The reason we're enslaved to that anger is because the thing we lost, our sense of respect or fairness or their approval, has become an idol. We feel like we cannot live without it, and so we can't possibly forgive the person who took it from us. The same logic applies to that crippling kind of guilt. You know, when we can't forgive ourselves, it's often not just about the mistake itself. The weight that crushes us comes from failing the idol we serve. Maybe our idol is professional success, and we blew a huge career opportunity. Or maybe our idol is being a perfect parent, and we feel we've let our family down. In both cases, the source argues the failure isn't the core problem. The idolatry is. And this brings us right back to our central puzzle. We can now see how two very different paths can lead to the very same destination. The source uses the parable of the prodigal son to explain this perfectly. You've got the younger brother who tries to find his identity by breaking all the rules. His idols are things like pleasure and freedom. And then you have the elder brother. He tries to find his identity by keeping all the rules. His idols are morality, approval, and control. Two different strategies, but notice the goal is exactly the same. And here's the solution to the puzzle. Both rule-breaking and rule-keeping can just be strategies to be our own savior, to control our own lives and earn our own sense of worth. Whether you're making an idol out of pleasure or an idol out of religious obedience, you are still trying to be your own master. And in the end, both paths lead to slavery to that idol. So, if the lenient life and the hypermoral life can both enslave us, What's the alternative? Where is the real path to freedom? The source points to a really subtle but profound shift in perspective. It's the difference between basing your identity on your knowing God versus basing it on the fact that you are known by God. See, my knowledge, my feelings, my performance, they go up and down every single day. That's an unstable foundation. But God's knowledge and acceptance of you, the source argues, is absolute, permanent, and fixed. And this is the key to freedom. When your core sense of value and identity is anchored in something that is permanent and unconditional, the idols they lose their power. You no longer need career success to feel worthy. You no longer need someone's approval to feel whole. You are free because your worth is no longer dependent on those things. So that leaves us with a final, crucial question to consider for ourselves. As you look at your own life, your own anxieties, your own driving motivations, what good thing, what perfectly normal thing might have quietly become an ultimate thing, holding the power to enslave you?